Yes. There's one seat here. One chair. There's another one there. Okay. So before we start with Ustad, Abe, we will get a good introduction by the person that's actually arranging all these master classes. Worked very hard for them, Mrs. Secret Skin. Okay, Miss Secret Skin.
Miss baby.
Okay. Yeah. There. Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay. Hi. My name is Anisha Oberoi. I'm the CEO and founder of a tech-enabled platform for sustainable beauty and wellness. It's called Secret Skin, but it's not my masterclass today, so I won't say more. Just a quick show of hands, how many of you, because there are new people and people that have been with us for some time, how many of you know about the formal masterclass program? Masterclass. Okay, great. So for those of you who don't know, we saw this community. I'm one of the community managers, and I lead the masterclass program. So when I got initiated, I realized that there were a lot of superstars in this room, and a lot of you know a lot. Oops, why not? I'm sorry. A lot of you know a lot about a lot, but there are certain core areas that no one can match you on. And you're using these core areas to build your businesses. And I think as a mentor, when we can't invest in startups, then it's our duty to give back. And that's why we created the Masterclass program, so that twice a month you could come in and hear people speak about their experiences, whether you're a founder, whether you're an investor, and also for the audience to learn from. So just to let you know, there is a WhatsApp group, a subgroup called the Community Masterclass Program under 2469. I have about 315 requests on it right now, so if you're not faculty, then you will not be added. If you want to host a masterclass in the future, then please do come up to me and we'll slot you in a schedule. There's a list of topics in the syllabus already, but we're always looking to add more. Just a few housekeeping rules before I introduce our first guest, because today is the first masterclass. So Jan, Feb, March are already filled. We know who's speaking, we know when they're speaking. I will from time to time keep publishing this. You will get a certificate thanks to Jamil, and I will leave it for him to explain later what these certificates are for, but make sure that you always sign up. And not every class is mandatory, but because these people are so difficult to get, I think it would bode you well to come twice a month at least to the master classes. 2 housekeeping rules: please don't speak when someone else is speaking, and please don't speak when someone else is asking questions. Okay, so 20 minutes and I'm going to introduce our first guest, and I'm very proud to do this. I have to read it, it's a very short description. And Abe will be speaking to us for 20 minutes, and we've left 20 minutes for Q&A. Anything goes. There are no rules. Then we'll, have a little bit of a break before we go on to our next session. So, please welcome to our first masterclass, and thank you so much for opening it, a serial entrepreneur with multiple exits, Ibrahim Abe, as he's lovingly called. Seksek is the current CEO of MENA and Africa of Startup Bootcamp, a rainmaking company. Before joining Startup Bootcamp, he co-founded a couple of companies such as Zen HR Solutions, which addresses the entire HR cycle, and Crystal, Jordan's first business process outsourcing provider. Ibrahim also worked as head of global operations support for Naspers, the parent company of Dubizzle and OLX, which oversaw the operations in 70 countries. Abe's subject is dealing with failure. Thank you.
Thank you all. Okay, so I think I can hear myself, so I'm good for. And I'm really excited to be a part of this. I've been a part of this community, and I can genuinely tell you that I'm a part of maybe 20 WhatsApp groups in Dubai for founders, and this is by far the most vibrant one, and it feels like a more so when they reached out to say come do a masterclass, I was more than happy to oblige. And one more thing that I really want to talk about that, and I'm sorry, I'm going to turn around every once in a while, sorry, but something I really want to talk about that nobody talks about in this region, and maybe it's more of a cultural thing, and I'm not talking about Middle East, I'm talking about Middle East, Africa, and even Asia. Failure. Failure is something that is very, I'm going to say people, get labeled very easily these days, and something, and failure really does affect the mentality of a lot of the people who are actually starting companies. And now, since we are in this founders group, we can openly talk about the good things and the bad things. I know I have 20 minutes. I'm gonna tell you, I promise I'm gonna try to keep it under 5 minutes, my journey, and then my learnings, and then we'll open it up for questions. You guys can ask whatever you want. So, so I am a serial entrepreneur. My tech, and mostly in tech, and my tech journey started in 1997. Okay, so just got out of university. I actually was working in technical support for a telecom. So if you had internet, you probably spoke to a guy like me. And so I met a couple of guys that were very good with technology, and we decided to build a company just as a side project. And it was just literally a very simple idea of I wanted to connect with people from high school, and so I grew up in a military family, so we moved every couple of years. So I went to school with a lot of people, and I really wanted to get in touch with a lot of people that I met. So I wanted to know how I can do that. And back then there was no Facebook or any of those. I think even MySpace wasn't even around yet back then. So I don't think do any of you know who MySpace is? Yeah. Okay, all right, perfect. But anyway, so what happened was we built a very simple platform. I think back then there wasn't even a .NET platforms. It was called Cold Fusion. I don't know if any developers were here. And we built something very low tech, but within a couple of weeks, we had like almost 1,000 users, like 700. And I was in charge of biz dev, and the other guys were technical. I wasn't a tech. I was a techie, hardware-wise, but not a software guy. And so what happened was, a guy knocked on our doors, emailed us saying, "Can we sit for a meeting?" I was 22 years old back then, or 21, I think. And I'm like, "Yeah, sure, let's go." So the person showed up to our desk and said, "I want to buy this company." And this was 6 months into us building this thing, and we're like, "Cool, what would you pay for it?" That was my first question, because I don't know anything about this space, right? So, so the guy was a much older man, and clearly was in the business field, and a banker as well. And I graduated. So I graduated with a psychology degree, FYI. So I don't know nothing about business about that. But anyway, the guy walked in and said, "Listen, all four of you, let me do a deal. How much do you owe in student loans?" And I grew up in Canada, so it's not that expensive to go to university there. Oh, well, at that time, at least. And so, we're like, "Sure, but I don't think that's enough." He's like, "Okay, I'll give you, every one of you, I'll give you $10,000 and pay off your student loans." We're like, "Wow, that's a lot of money." So we're like, for a university student who's 22, for somebody who just graduated and somebody paying my loans and give me $10,000, I'm like, "You have a deal." Not knowing, and we didn't do anything. Like, we didn't do our due diligence, we didn't know who this guy was or anything. And then we had to sign tons and tons of paperwork, and we didn't know what we were signing, by the way. I don't think we even brought a lawyer involved. And the guy paid us and paid our loans, and it was a fantastic deal. 6 months down the road, I find out this guy works for Match.com, which is the owner of Tinder, Bumble, eHarmony. It's the biggest unicorn when it comes to anything social. Our app was not a dating or anything, but it had the whole community aspect of it. But that is, maybe that's one of the lessons that, obviously that's definitely a lesson I learned. But what came after is what we're going to address today, right? So with the money that I thought I had, and actually the guy paid us in all fairness, we decided to think, oh, this is too easy. So we're just going to start companies and sell them off. And this was in, I think, 1999. We started 3 companies, me and these other guys. We started a photo sharing app. We started a social photo app, and that failed miserably. It was like an Instagram back then, but back then cameras didn't have a front camera on the phone. So it was kind of useless. So you had to take a picture with a digital camera, download it on your laptop, and then upload. It was a lot of friction, right? So we never had anything. We had a couple of even file sharing apps that failed miserably. Luckily, we were employed, I have to say, because not only did we spend the money that we made, but I think we spent 3 times as much from our own pockets running after these dreams. And then my big break, I think, came in 2005 when I decided to, at that time, I used to work for a telco, same telco, Verizon in the US. They said, we just want a big tender in Qatar. We speak Arabic, why don't you go to Qatar? And I'm like, okay. So I went there for like 7 months. At that time, Qatar was still very early. And what happened was, I looked at all the opportunities that are coming. There was so many things that I wanted to build for MENA because I've never lived in MENA. So I said, you know what? I think I'm gonna start my entrepreneurial journey. And that's when I decided to open Crystal, which is one of the companies we co-founded. Crystal today has 3,500 employees. We're gonna be publicly listed hopefully this year on London Stock Exchange. I still sit on the cap table, but obviously after all the fundraising that we've done, tiny share, but again, it's, and that alone, I'll walk into all of our success stories and failures with that business itself. In 2013, oh, by the way, Crystal got me into the Endeavor Network, and if you guys, does anybody know who the Endeavor Network is? Do you guys know the Endeavor Network? Okay, honestly, Endeavor was one of the best things I've ever done in my entrepreneurial journeys to join. They had a very high bar to enter. I think there's only 50 Endeavor founders in all of MENA. They're like, to get in, you have to have a scale up with a certain amount of revenue. But honestly, the network that they bring on board is phenomenal. Okay, their events, like we, regularly used to meet founders like the CEO of Salesforce.com, like big names. Anyway, so in 2013, I landed a client when I was at Crystal named Dubizzle.com. So I've been working, in 2009, I landed Dubizzle.com. In 2012, they asked me to come and join as COO. At that time, Dubizzle, when they hired me, I knew the founders very, very well, and these are founders who were in Dubai, came on a $9,000 loan, built Dubizzle.com, and it was Dubai and Middle East first unicorn, classified because when their last round, when I was with them, was raised from, I think it was Naspers, and I'll tell you a bit more about Naspers now. They raised it at $900 million value. So that was in 2004, 14, I think. So again, we were growing so fast. We were doing a lot of transactions. I think we were doing almost 500 million page views a month. So we actually had teams how to get rid of traffic. Like we didn't want a lot of people. We had people in Dubai, their homepage was Dubizzle. It wasn't Google, it was Dubizzle. And we wanted, because we were paying for all that hosting. And we didn't want to do that. Like we were paying like at that time $200,000 a month in hosting. Anyway, there was some things there that I've definitely learned, and that's where the acceptance of failure came. Because Dubizzle taught me one thing that I'll never ever forget is if you don't try, you never learn. And this is something that people, they think that, you know what I mean, they always have it in the back of their mind saying, you know what, if I just put $100 on whatever platform, Google, Facebook, and done that campaign, I wonder if I would have gotten any traffic. You know what I mean? And they say, you know what, no, maybe I should just save up the $100 for my, you know, worst days or whenever I really need it. And that's something that I've actually learned. We have, I'll tell you one of the biggest, and I can say that now, I think I left the business 7, 8 years ago. So, and what happened was, once we spent $3.5 million in a month on a marketing campaign, and we actually lost traffic. Okay? Do you know why? And I'll tell you why. Because we did a campaign on TV. Because somebody decided that MENA acts exactly like Latin America, and TV is the only way to get to the market. So they did an ad on the only pan-Arab channel, which is NBC. So they paid $3.5 million without any research, without doing. We could have done a research for $50,000 to get us what we did. And they did a very ad campaign. You guys know Dubizzle.com, right? All of you know Dubizzle, right? So we did an ad campaign where there was a washing machine and it opens and a goat comes out. I have no idea what was the creative behind it. But because when they did their initial offering, understanding, is they found out that, by the way, in Saudi to this day, after houses and cars, the third most item on classifieds is goats and cows. That's the most thing that traffic. So I guess somebody did some research and said, let's put a goat out of that. So do you know the only vertical that saw more traffic was washing machines? Because people thought we were a washing machine brand. We were so strong that we were washing goats. And so that was $3.5 million. So what I'm trying to say is, please do the research and back up everything with numbers before you say, my gut feeling is this, right? So yes, it's good to take a leap of faith. It's good to, your gut pointing you in the right direction, but it's also good to back it up by numbers. It's not also good, it's a must. Because you do not want to waste more time and effort on something that is not, you can't justify, right? So this is something that, and that's, and what happened after, obviously, there was a lot of changes in how we did things, and for Saudi at least. We did another, actually, really major issue in Saudi is they did kind of a Christmas campaign in 2015, and the government actually backed out on us. So that was, that was very experimental company, I have to say, and we had something on our walls. We had a really nice office in Shada Tower here in Dubai where it said, fail fast. And that was the first time I've ever seen the word fail on anything in corporate, because that's usually not something you want to be labeled with, right? So that's something that, we had our 10, what's it called, culture guidelines and stuff like that. And one of them was, fail fast was one. Number 2 was run and break shit. That's something that was literally on the walls of Dubizzle, because we had to be quick. You do an MVP, And then if it fails, it fails. If it doesn't, you move on and you build to it. And I remember in tech, everybody wants, especially when you're an early founder, you wanted to build something. Everybody asks you about scalability. Is this scalable? Is this something? And I remember, I can tell you, our tech team at Dubizzle built something, and then we reached 20 million downloads, and then I get an email saying, we're not allowed to have any more downloads. So what do we do now? We had to literally delete the app and build a brand new one. 20 million users had to download a new app. Millions of dollars been spent on on campaigns to download one app, now to download another. So again, there was no done. Again, I'm making Dubizzle sound like a horrible. It was nothing like that. It was a great, loving company. But then what happened is I left and I exited Dubizzle and I went to my last company, which is Akhtabut.com. And it wasn't really big in Jordan, but it's big in Saudi and Jordan and in Egypt, where it's a first recruitment website. And then I came back in 2015 and I said, okay, we have to do something with this company. There's no way we're going to compete with LinkedIn. We don't have enough money as LinkedIn. So we pivoted into an HR platform called ZenHR. And in 2018, there's a lot of funny stories there, but I'm not going to. In 2018, I decided to exit to the government of Abu Dhabi. They wanted to buy the shares and they wanted to buy the company because they felt there was something there. And then I joined Startup Bootcamp for the last 5.5 years. And rainmaking, for the sole reason is I wanted to give back to the community. I wanted to also relay, I've been given a lot of really bad advice from mentors and investors. And there's a huge difference between coaches and mentors. And if you guys don't know the difference, please come and talk to me, okay? Mentors are usually people who are mirrors, will tell you what you're reflecting, and will help you guide. While coaches will tell you what to do, and they usually have an agenda. So in saying that, in my total journey, I've raised over $40 million for my own startups, not including the portfolio of companies that I'm managing right now. Tons of investor stories, all kind of crazy stories. In 2005, we were the first, I think, and the only company in Jordan to raise $1 million seed. To this day, $1 million seed is still some kind of good news. I know people are raising monster amounts of money these days, especially startups in Saudi. But my tips for you guys is always be data-driven. Always follow your passion, and please always experiment, because honestly, and Dubai does a very good job in that, because we're so multicultural and we're so diverse, and I generally believe innovation comes from diversity. When I go to countries such as Egypt, such as Jordan, such as India, everybody thinks the same way. So there isn't a lot of new ideas. But, offices like our offices here at Rainmaking, Dubizzle, even ZenHR, Dubizzle had 140 employees and 60 nationalities. So people said, oh, in Brazil we did this. Oh, in South Africa we did that. Oh, in Europe we did that. And we tried different things and we localized it. And then that's why we kept growing. So this is something to keep in mind. Always keep an open mind and always keep. I know I would like to tell you more, but I'm almost out of time, right? I have one more minute. I'd love to tell you a lot more funnier failed stories. I'm going to do a bit of self-branding, and I'm sorry about that. I do have a podcast online with 60 episodes. I talk to different founders about what could they have done differently and not address the word failure, because that is a big topic that people do not want to be labeled at. But I can tell you, I've had 15 other ventures that failed miserably. One of them raised almost $5.5 million. That went nowhere. It was generative AI, by the way, that we had to close literally a month ago. We were doing really, really well until OpenAI decided to open their marketplace, and we lost all of our traffic in literally a week. So, again, things happen. We could have been there. We still have some proprietary tech that we can sell them, but that's a different, because I think we were a bit too late to the market. I think if we were there 6 months earlier, we would have been stable enough. So timing is another big thing that people need to talk about. Need to take that in consideration, right? So this is something that I always wanted to tell you. My last point is the co-founder and founder, who are the people you want to work with. Honestly, the two major reasons why startups fail is people building products that nobody wants. And number two is the communication and the co-founder relationship. We've lost, I can tell you right now, in 2015, I got offered both COO of Kareem and Talabat, and I said no to both. Because I did not like the environment that I walked into. Okay, those were pretty bad decisions, financially. But I don't know if it's something that, but again, I don't regret them, right? Because I knew what I was walking into, and I knew what things that, what kind of environment. So being a co-founder and finding your co-founder, because you're going to see the co-founder way more than your family. So it is a first family and not the second family. When people say work is your second family, no, I say it's your first family. Especially in the startup environment where people are there for 10, 15 hours a day. I think I'm sorry if I didn't have more stories, but feel free to reach out, and I think I'm going to leave for questions. Anybody have any questions?
So if you have a question, just step right in. Go ahead. Yeah, stand up. Just go to Abe.
What's been your biggest failure, and how do you deal with it psychologically? I think lots of founders struggle with imposter syndrome. Is this the right thing? I personally have been through really dark moments in terms of what's the point of it. So what's the example that you've given? How did you get through that?
Okay, that's a very good question. So I've actually hit rock bottom twice in my life, like financial rock bottom, like less than $100 in my bank account. And I developed this mechanism, and I think it's a good exercise for everybody to have, is to literally have exactly what I just said. What is the worst rock bottom situation you can be in? You know what I mean? I discovered, obviously, after my first failure, which was, I think, in the early 2000s when I told you we made some money, and then we got on our big high, and then our big low with 3 back-to-back major failures. We lost, I don't speak to 2 of the 4 people anymore. Like, that's how bad of a relationship killer it was. But I had to build, so I created something called the Board of Abe, where I have 4 or 5 people I generally trust, not necessarily friends, who gives me the truth, and then who would, in different aspects of, one on a financial level, one on a legal level, one on a, like a hype man, or a hype woman in that case. But I created that, and they actually, I touch base at least once every 3 months with them. Some of them I see a lot more. They kind of pull in, and they really support you in a lot of things. From personal experience, don't put family in this circle, because family is great in support, but family is never good to test an MVP on, because they'll always tell you build it, but they're not your customers. So who's going to pay for it, right? So, and who's going to support you? Like, I'm not going to, so that's something that I dealt with. Number 2, always, if you ever join any of our programs in Startup Bootcamp, you'll always hear me say, where is the pivot? Because they come in with an idea and they always pivot. Because what people have as a problem might not replicate with other people until they find where the business is at. So that's so mentality is something that creating that lost or the worst case scenario, plus having a good support network with people you generally trust, and just don't tell everybody everything, right? Because there is another problem where a founder speaks to a lot of people, and everyone's going to give you different advice. You know what I mean? And even people who've never started a company now are experts in startups. You know, they'll say, yeah, you should have done this. I'm like, bro, you've been in corporate life for 30 years. You're the last person to tell me, like, whatever, right? So be very selective. That's what I'm trying to say. Any other questions? Good question.
How do you kind of regulate, what's your mechanism of regulating when the confidence kind of silences the voice of reasoning, right? There's a thin line between confidence and there is something called as common sense. So when do you push forward and when do you pull back?
Okay, so again, when building, as we're building more and more companies, like I always thought I'm a 0 to 1 kind of guy. Nowadays, after 27 years in tech, I'm more like the 1 to 1,000. The 0 to 1 is actually a lot of hard work, and this is why I have respect for everybody in this room, because it is super hard. And I remember all my, I don't think I have any more favors left with people. Like I'd be like, can you please do this for me? And next time when we grow, and they're like, bro, like you're at 3,000 people, like I can't give you any more favors, right? But you asked a very good question, like where do you draw the line, right? So we create a lot of feedback, like not committees, but like I'll genuinely throw something out to my team, and then I'll say I want to do this, and then if I have, on that, like the product team or the marketing team, if I get 4 out of 6 people saying that is a horrible idea, we kill it. You know what I mean? Like confidence will get you somewhere, and then obviously if they have data, that trumps everything that what I say. You know what I mean? Like I can't say, we are a fintech. I want to get into, I don't know, agriculture. It doesn't make any sense. But and I'll hear a lot of people wanting to throw in a word, especially these days. Everybody has an AI in the pitch deck. We're AI driven or AI blah 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 whatever. Okay, so it's fine. Or 2 years ago it was blockchain, and stuff like that. So you don't have to force it down. But I know it's sexy for the investors, but honestly, just always have that feedback mechanism into anything you do. So you have somebody that would correct you. And that's something, and I see very successful founders struggle with this because they say, I've gotten you here, so why don't you just go all the way, right? So there's a very good book for everybody here to read if you guys ever wanted to read. It actually changed, there's a couple of books that changed my life. One of them is called What Got Me Here Will Not Get You There. I don't know if any of you have read it. I genuinely love this book. And I think he updated it Marshall Goldsmith, trimmed it to 12, now 20 items. So highly recommended how you can change that as well. No investor questions? Really? Okay. He raised it.
It's not an investor question. It's something maybe related or unrelated because you have a great connection with the Dubizzle. There's a question lately, it was like coming too much time for me because when I'm looking to carve, now I'm not going to Dubizzle anymore. Or as a corporate, we're looking to hire, I'm not using Dubizzle anymore because subscriptions is going insane. So for such apps like Dubizzle, which is it's to make more subscriptions, paid subscriptions, or the traffic, which is more profitable for? I need to know that.
So, okay, I'm going to turn this into an investor question. Okay, so if you ever pitch me and tell me I'm making money on advertising, I will delete your deck within 5 minutes. No more traffic businesses. Traffic doesn't mean anything these days. That's why everybody's raising the number, right? So I'm telling you because I'll give you the example of Dubizzle. When we first tested the cars app, when we first monetized the cars, I don't know, any of you have been living here for more than 10 years? Okay, So when we tested the Dubizzle app for auto, you know which one did the best? Which price? We tested four price points, 50 dirhams, 100 dirhams, 200, and 500. You know which one did the best?
500.
The 500. But we couldn't put 500. You know why? Because then PR would have destroyed us. So we put it at 200. You know what I mean? And we lost only 3% of our traffic in our auto market. So because there is value there. Now, with SaaS businesses on the rise, everything is SaaS. I think I have a spreadsheet of everything I'm paying monthly. I'm up to like $300 in just monthly services I'm paying. Netflix, Google, whatever, right? So the SaaS is the new way because you are bringing value to, so definitely that no traffic businesses, no more, people don't pay for traffic anymore, like investors. He had a question. He had a question, sorry. I'll turn more later.
Thank you. Just a quick one. You touched on diversity, and if you look at the room here, see everybody's diverse, and you said this is the key to innovation and building products, and that's certainly the case for Dubai. And now if we talk about markets and scaling. What is your take on Dubai versus Saudi, Dubai versus Egypt, Dubai versus bigger markets? Are you set for failure if you set your company in Dubai, or do you from day one have to move to a bigger market like Saudi or Egypt?
Great question. So, listen, I said one of the key innovations. I didn't say the key innovation, so I don't want people to quote me. But no, Dubai is a great place to launch from, okay? Or to scale from, let's just say. Because I know a lot of startups start from somewhere else. You know what I mean? They end up landing in Dubai, but Dubai's got such a good infrastructure. So how do companies grow? Do you guys know? Like, what is the 3 pillars for the growth of companies? Shout it. It's okay. So access to market, access to talent, and access to finance. Finance, all the investors and the VCs are now in Dubai, okay? Access to talent, I think Dubai got ranked in the top 10 cities on earth for talent, so there is talent here, right? So access to market is, there's a lot of programs in Dubai and the UAE for the UAE market. But yes, UAE market is not as big as our surrounding neighboring countries, Egypt, KSA, Turkey, Pakistan, and so forth, right? So in saying that, when you get ready to land into markets like KSA or Egypt, yes, you come in with your product and then you start changing that local product to what people are telling you, okay? Like, I'll give you the example of Akhtaboot or Dubizzle or any of the apps that we started. The Kareem, if you guys looked at Kareem app, in Saudi it looks different than the one in the UAE. They have to optimize it. The reason why Uber bought Kareem, because Uber has a way where they do not want to change the UX or the UI in any country, because it looks the same, right? But Kareem had to do that to win the local market, because they had to also educate the local market. So you come in, you localize, you land with your product, you have a lot of product sessions with people, and from there, you localize the product accordingly till you come up to this product, okay? We actually had a code name in every one of our websites, and they usually label it as the country label. So if you're starting from Jordan, you'd say this is the Jordan. In Dubizzle, we had the Bahrain. That was the normal platform, and so forth and so forth. Can I answer?
So, should a founder or founders, we're talking about failure today, right, in your session, should founders go back to investors who've passed on them before, as a rule?
Okay, this is another thing. An investor will never say, okay, even if they say no, but listen, you can read the email carefully. They say, not at this time, okay? It's never, unless something happened personally The investor's main goal is to make money. So when you're making money, you can reach out and say, by the way, things have changed. Are you interested? They'll be like, yeah, I am. So they will never say no. They will say, not at this time. Okay? So that's the good news about investors. Now, picking the investor is a different conversation, and I can tell you right now, there's some people on my list that I'd never do business with again as investors. But there's investors who, before anything, I'll reach out to them and even vet the idea with them. So, but investors will never give you a no. Even if you heard that they're going to say no, they'll say maybe. You know what I mean? But they never say no. They never ever say no. So you should always reach out. I have a lot of the founders on our team, on our portfolio. They keep, even investors who said, we don't invest in this space, they keep sending them newsletters. By the way, we have gained 500 new users this month, and blah, blah, blah. You know, unless the person unsubscribes, which they hardly ever do. So, you know, what do you have to lose? You know, especially when you're starting to do well. And I'm telling you right now, raising growth money is way easier than survival money. Okay, because when you're making money, people will have longer conversations, you know? And also keep in mind, in MENA, unlike the US and Europe, rounds take 9 months to a year. And I don't think founders understand like how long funding takes. And I'll tell you why they do that. It's because they want to see you through quarters, and if you're staying maintaining your growth, and they'll do it a set of due diligence. That's changing, thank God. A lot of investors are coming much faster, especially at an angel or a pre-seed level. There's a lot faster checks to come in. We're creating more angels. We need more angels because institutional, like, I don't want to discourage anybody, but like I can tell you a big VC firm, one of the very well-established one, they're going to make 10 investments this year. They have 13,000 companies in their pipeline. So they can be very picky and choose who they want, right? So, but now we're creating this angel investment layer where you can get faster checks. One more? Two more questions?
Yeah, one more.
Thank you. I have a question regarding the survival money, as you called it, as early investors. We're at a stage where we are not having any pre-revenue. So what is your advice on finding angel investors, generally a route that we could take, or any ideas?
Okay, finding angel investors. And so listen, I know, there's different levels and there's different types of angel investors. Like you can go, like finding angel investors is usually networking. That's the only way. People need to hear about you more, and it's mostly referral. Like there isn't enough programs, and also you need to define what ticket size. Like if you want a $25,000 ticket size, or you want a $250,000 ticket size, because the $250K you're gonna have to find maybe 5 angels. Or maybe 2 big ones, because there's not a lot of people who write over 100K. I think there's maybe 20 in Dubai. So networking is one. There are these platforms like Eureka and all these other crowdfunding platforms. I'm not saying I'm a fan or not, I'm just saying that's an avenue you can choose. But listen, I want to give you guys an advice, and I know my personal experience, I have to tell you that, and that's something I took. Some companies failed is because I took money from the wrong people. And how so? Either they took a bit more control, or they took a board seat, or I want people on my cap table that are going to work for me. And I know maybe because now I'm a serial entrepreneur, I can be picky and choosy, but try to vet as much as possible. Like when people come in with a check, saying, what else do you have for me? Can I get 5 introductions to people in your network? Can you refer your friends? And I'll give you a bit more equity into investment. Because usually people invest in groups. They don't, there's, you know what I mean? Unless it's a secretive guy or girl that wants to come in. And I have to tell you one story. So I had a merchandising company that exited, became an NFT company and exited. The fastest check ever written to me in my life, it was 25 minutes. It was a coffee and the person wrote a check. That never ever happens. Okay, that's, keep in mind, I have a number of ratio. Every 23 investors I sit, I get a yes. So I get 22 no, well, maybes, and then I get a yes. So I've actually got it into an art. Now it's a bit different, but that's when, so you have to have as many conversations. Think of it as branding and marketing, right? People are now know who you are, know what you do, and they'll label you as the, you know, whatever your business is, right? So keep that in mind, but always, always ask the extra questions when you're taking money from people. What can you else do for me? I want introductions. I want business development. I want you to refer me to this. Can you get me into this company? Can you hook me up with a family that owns an IT company? Something like, it's not only the money, like they have to come work for you. And never ever give control to your investors. Okay? I see it all the time. They get, you know, a lot of times people say, oh, I have Ittisalat on my board, or I have whatever, big people. That means they're not in control. You know what I mean? And that's something, I'm not saying anything about the Salat, I'm just saying like a company that big usually comes in with their own agenda. And usually these companies succeed. So, but again, be that fine line of how you want to pursue the next steps with your investors.
Thank you so much. It can be found on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is also on the WhatsApp group, and there'll be plenty of opportunities to go and meet up while we're doing our social networking. Thank you so much. Guys, one round of applause for 24/6/9. So this is our first masterclass and we have 90 people in the room, which is incredible. 26th of Jan is going to be our second masterclass, and this is on how to build an ACE pitch deck, right? And over the period of months, you'll have a lot of opportunities to learn about how to build a cap table. What does performance marketing look like? What does PR branding look like? What is the toolkit that I need as a young founder? How do you negotiate with investors, early stage as well as late stage? How to raise from family offices, as well as things like health tech in MENA 101. A lot of topics that will benefit all the founders regardless of what stage you're at. So stay tuned and please stay in touch with all the updates. We have an Instagram account as well, so please show your love. And a last round of applause for the team that put it together. We worked very and yes, this is a really vibrant community, and thank you, because we couldn't have done it without all of you. So meet us on LinkedIn and meet us outside. Thank you.